What if to become a better jungler, I told you instead of following all the rules, you should break them? How to jungle in Season 13 can simply be put as the thumbnail shows. The split jungle rule where we ignore top side and only go to the bottom side. That in itself is saying no to conventional rule of balancing your jungling. I will show you 3 challenger frameworks about why the game is the way it is at the moment, how you can do it yourself, but how you can also take it to the next level by breaking that rule in and of itself to prime you for all future metas. And we're not only talking about these junglers breaking the rules of jungling, we are also talking about us, the skilled junglers, the savants, the druids of the forest, who simply want to always be able to break the meta rule, whatever that might be, and use it as an advantage against those who don't know the true power that lies within the jungle. And if you also want to avoid that and climb faster than 70% of League of Legends players and get to gold, diamond, and master tier about 2 years faster than everybody else, have a look at Virkayu.gg through the link in the description below and find your best bespoke jungle coaching package. Additionally, I also have very in-depth jungle courses, with the silver one launching this Friday with the others soon to follow, as well as a free jungle improvement PDF to help you carry, win, and climb and learn how to VOD revere yourself. Click the link below to join me on Virkayu.gg, a jungler's learning paradise. And all 3 junglers in this video will start Raptors, Red, Krugs, and gank bottom lane first. That will not change. That kind of pressure point will remain. The kill catch-up experience will definitely hinder if you were to, say, do this too much like we're currently doing. Now, what would typically happen in this case is the blue side jungler can do a multitude and plethora of 3 camp clears to gank on the bottom side as well. Largely what they're doing is their blue quadrant counter-ganking or ganking ahead of, say, the Lee Sin style jungler who's doing the bottom side red quadrant. And this in turn protects them from being invaded should they do a full clear top down, whereby if the enemy jungler gets the gank off first, then you get fisted and invaded. So this time the Nunu is later to the gank, he comes second, Lee Sin gets nothing from his, but the Lee Sin has 2 choices. Use this pressure to go and gank mid lane and take his red side. Why do that when experience isn't so great? I'm just going to react and counter gank this particular action. The Lee Sin chunks the Nunu, pushes him off and says, okay, I guess I can go mid lane, cross over, take the top scuttle. No one is going to be fighting over this bottom scuttle right now, except we all know this as Nunu, and in Season 13, you just gank bottom lane once, twice, thrice, all on the first rotation, and you ignore the top side quadrant. And you know what? Go ahead and guess how many times this Lee Sin will do his blue side quadrant in the first 12 minutes of the game. Have a guess and you'll see the answer when we get to that time frame. See, in early Season 12 and Season 11 and late Season 10, if we decided, hey, listen, let's just react to the Nunu spam ganking on the bottom side, that would be stupid. There would be so much experience to be had in the top side, through counter jungling, through the scuttle crab, through leveraging that into the mid and the top lane ganks, except now he drifts as if he's going to react. Unfortunately, the gank ends before he gets there, so we take the scuttle and go to the top side. The Nunu will make a big fundamental error. He will basically say, convention says I must take the red buff, therefore he takes the red buff. Lee Sin says, I reject this rule because Season 13 ganks mid lane gets a kill. Now I can go upside, I can control that scuttle, and I can gank top lane. Nunu in the meantime spent his time farming chems. Chems, imagine. The Nunu wasted time by doing what convention says, you know, in typical jungling circles, not in terms of meta spam ganking, which is why it's being nerfed. But the fact that we can ignore an entire quadrant isn't healthy. At the same time, despite all of this, we should still be thinking about taking that quadrant, and it will allow you a more stress-free jungle environment while making it easy to carry. That sounds good, doesn't it? Final example though. And so the Lee Sin takes the second spawn Raptors, the second spawn Krugs. The Nunu, we know he will be drifting to the bottom lane once more. We will counter gank it. We will position and waste time. We do not care about proper sequencing. You also might think, hey, isn't this about the dragon? Bottom side has dragons. You know what, in these challenger games, you might think, hey, that's what's meant to be done. Shouldn't they do it? And they go, yes, we should. And then they don't because convention says we should, and therefore we reject it. And we go back to base, spend some cash money gold. We finally do our blue side for the first very time just to make sure we take it off the map. But the goal of this is simply to go to the Herald. We want the Herald, always the Herald first. When you see the enemy jungler ganking, of course, react, kill him, and then take the Herald. The point of this entire exercise is maximize your tree gold, maximize the camps on the side of the map that you wish to spam gank, and don't worry too much about unnecessary objectives because the goal is to win the game through gold alone. And of course, if you can't take the dragon, but you have the lead, they can't take the dragon. And then what do we do, my friends? Well, we go back to base, we go back to the bottom lane, we spend about 10 years there. You know why this play was possible? Because Nunu was on the top side once again. So we kill the laners, we kill the Nunu, we punch down some plates, and then we take the Herald and we go mid lane, so we get plates in the mid lane as well. We can take that tower first, and now we can counter juggle. Basically, we have not touched our top blue side, and we won't touch it again until about 12 or 13 minutes in. This is why you're seeing 4 to 5 CS PM averages on these junglers. They are simply taking one quadrant, ganking, taking that quadrant again, ganking, taking the Herald and doing the blue side maybe one time, and then just doing the same process again. This is not a very wholesome, fluid, or intelligent jungling style. It is simply something saying half the map doesn't exist to me basically. That is not a good thing. Up to the second example, same thing, except it's a Gragas versus Jarvan. Gragas does the red side, Raptors, red Krugs. Ganks the bottom lane, doesn't get anything. Does that mean you leave, take Scuttle, gank mid lane, worry about your top side? No, you stay bottom side until you get something. The Jarvan does the blue side, and we stay. And we stay. And we stay. Until we get a kill, until that 330 crab spawns, and now we can base. You see how ridiculous this is in comparison to typical jungle rules, which state, hey, take this quadrant, do this fluid sequence, make sure you have your maximized experience. All things I put in my videos. Junglers are simply breaking these quote-unquote rules because there's just way more to be done on the map in terms of golden experience. Except convention will say, let's go back to base, worry about our blue side now because we didn't get anything on the mid and the top side. Well, I know that Jarvan probably is going to go there after his death, try and counter jungle me, the poor fool. Let him take the top quadrant. I'ma stay and get another assist. Now I can go back to base. And the thing is, the Jarvan has decided to take the Skull Crab, counter jungle the poor Gragas' blue, and this right here is exactly why you're not seeing this play made more often, because the Gragas is going to show up as the Jarvan's doing the Gromp. Because it's going to take him 20% longer basically to do that Gromp than his own Gromp, the Gragas is now in a position to not only defend his territory, but to react to it if he isn't able to get there just in time. Like in this case, he flanks from behind and gets 2 more kills. The Jarvan and the Nunu in both cases decided to focus on their top side quadrant before the entirety of the possibilities of bottom lane were extinguished and maximize their kill gains. Lee Sin maybe didn't get anything on the bottom lane, but he chose to pressure that point, force a Nunu somewhere else, then gank mid lane and top lane, and then of course go bottom lane about 300 times. But that's just it. It's not that they go bottom lane once, twice, 3, 4 times. It's that they go bottom lane 1 time for a very long time. It is highly inefficient. And this is why we have the 2 extremes, and the 2 extremes are always bad because it creates bad junglers who learn and grow in this environment. The first one, no one ever ganked. Laners got used to never being ganked, so they didn't even think about it. Now with spam ganking, we have no idea how to sequence and jungle with flow. We have no idea what to do when someone does something weird and nuanced because we can get away with it. But you're seeing the Gragas here after that double kill. He takes the wolves, he holds the mid lane, he takes the raptors, he takes the Krugs, shows up again to the bottom lane. The Jarvan is completely lost. He's down on levels, he's trying to get the blue buff, he can't really rotate to things, he gets shoved out by the Gragas from his own jungle. All because he died early and went to the top side and tried to counter jungle, things we're meant to be doing, but were not able to do in Season 13. And as such, his only way back into the game is what? To gank more, to get kill catch-up experience, which while it still will exist, won't nearly be as potent. Imagine it like a more suboptimal magic potion for the muscles you didn't grow. Sorry Asterix and Obelix fans, that's just the way it is. I do love them and grew up with them, but I had to make the metaphor. And again, the Gragas ignores the dragon. Who cares about this? Back to base. We want the Herald, hold top lane, take a camp if you feel like it. Doesn't really have to be done, but hey, if you feel like it, do it. Jarvan's like, I can do this. No, he can't. He leaves. But he has to do something because he's just out of the game due to the fact that he tried to counter jungle and go equal and opposite. How weird is that? But he's out of the game, so the Gragas takes the Herald, kills them both, activates the Herald, someone TPs in, we kill them again. Now we're in the mid game. Really, really weird jungling. Janky, isn't it? It's strange. We don't really sequence, we don't really counter jungle, we ignore one side of the map basically in terms of camps. We do gank the lanes, we do take the heralds, but we don't really care about the farm, right? All because of the new treats, all because of the lack of experience in the jungle, all because of the lack of gold in the raw camps. But then Virkayu, what is your point? What am I to do if you're criticizing this jungling? That is the meta that is good. Well, I'm here to say that this is an unskilled jungling meta, just like the AFK farming one. What if we did this? And now that we're familiar with the frameworks of the current jungle, the rules of the current jungle, let's break him, let's shatter them down. Start Raptors, Red Krugs though, we still gank bottom lane, absolutely standard stuff. The enemy jungler, instead of being the blue side clearer to come second, decides to do a singular gank and gank first. Obviously it's a Sylas. He goes back to base and now we gank second, after that we get a kill. Unfortunately we die, but we'll just say, well, that's fine, I'll come back later. Just look at the Sylas' jungling, look at this chaos. He does blue ganks bottom lane, goes back to base, takes the wolves, cuts through the raptor pit, comes around the top side to gank the mid lane. What is this? The Rumble collapses and kills him because, as the Lee Sin showed, react to what's happening, use that as an advantage, get yourself some kills. This game, we didn't sit around, repeat gank bottom lane, and wait for the 330 scuttle. It is a waste of time. We can do so many cool things. Like, for example, know that Sylas showed bottom lane with 4 CS, obviously he gets one from a ward or from a minion, then shows on the top side again coming from the wolves with an added 4 CS, which means I know he did 2 camps on the bottom side, blue and one of the other ones. I know there's only one available. I know when he dies now he's going to have to come to the top side to get something, so I'm going to counter jungle him, take the raptors, gank the top lane while I know he's farming to get level 3, use that to take my blue side because he cannot invade me right now, and he will of course go to the bottom side and try gank, but we'll let him do it. Hey, look at this, we finish our Gromp blue wolves and we go back to base, a quadrant clear. We don't full sequence because we have mega cash monies because Sylas kill, counter jungle, top lane kill, plus a whole bunch of camps and minions. I take that gold. So we didn't ignore the topside quadrant. What does it give us in terms of time? Quite a hell of a lot. So what do? We do Raptors and Krugs out of base. We try to go bottom lane to get the gank off because why? We know the Lee Sin, the Nunu, the Jarvan, the Gragas, all of the junglers we just looked at beforehand. All of you who are applying this ganking framework without thinking about your pathing anymore. We know what you're gonna do. We know that they know we're here. We just are saying we have more gold, we have more experience, we're close to 6 because we did the right thing, because we broke the meta rule, applied strong fundamentals where we had good counter jungling, good transition ganks, good protection of our jungle, good quadrant clearing and sequencing. And just as we go into the bottom lane here, watch the Grump spawn time and look how much we can accomplish from when we took it to when it respawns. We're gonna fight, we'll eventually get some kills. When you full sequence from Grump, Wolves, Raptors, Krugs, even if you base in between, look how much time was there on the map from when we took the Grump to when we did all of this stuff and then the Grump respawned. That's a lot of time in League of Legends, stress-free. I cannot be counter-jungled, I have the golden experience on the map, I can just chill here with no stress in my mind, knowing he's behind, he will be forced to make this decision. And because we keep doing that, we will always have the advantage over them. We stay, we get 6, we tower dive, we get a whole bunch of kills with 4-1-2 with 47 CS. He has 26 CS. Which means in the future, this will always be good to you. Having this as your baseline of jungling will always mean that you will be relevant. Now we could Wolves Grump to get 7 before we do the Herald, but if we know Sylas is bottom side because basically at this point he's out of the game, he's desperate, we can see him, we'll just do the Grump, do the Herald. That is still true. We don't force ourselves into the dragon, and it can be very dangerous to do so, by the way. You spam gank your bottom lane, you hover for minutes on end, you finally get them all the gold and the plates, and then you force a dragon when they're low and have 2k in pocket, the enemy's just gonna get shut down, and basically you lose the advantage. Don't force the dragons. And as always with conventional jungling, when you're farming, doing heralds and in the river, before you go back to your camps, before you withdraw to something, can I gank this lane? Can I gank that lane? Can I counter jungle invade? Always look outward before going back inward. Now we can shove the wave, get the free gold, fall back to our Raptors, and that's the thing, right? We didn't go back to the blue side quadrant. Why? Because instead of doing a blue side quadrant, we did cool things on the map, and instead of falling back to it like a blind sequencing sheep, also not good, we said, hey, let's do the Raptors, because now we have a purchase. And that's obviously the good item, the Night Harvest item that allows these AP junglers to thrive one shot and basically never have to go electrocute. The fact that it also has HP plus that movement speed passive really is a strong item, but instead of worrying about the blue side quadrant, we made those plays and then used everything as a fallback tool. Whereas the Lee Sin, the Gragas, we basically just said it doesn't exist. I'm gonna do the right side quadrant, gank every lane, take a Herald, gank again. Yes, that's great, but when you're 4 CS per minute, that's not a sustainable jungling strategy. It's one of the worst metas to be in because those junglers get away with it thanks to certain systems. And when those systems are removed, you know what's gonna happen to those junglers? They're gonna go down the ladder. The AFK farming Hakrims and Udyrs, what happened to them after they nerfed it? They went down the ladder. What's going to happen when you break the meta rule of jungling and just apply the strongest foundational principles that applies to every single meta that gives you advantages in every single case? You're gonna win like this Rumble. You're gonna win in 15 minutes with 7.6 CSPM, highest KP, most damage, and we did it without spam ganking bottom lane mindlessly. We did it without ignoring our topside quadrants mindlessly. Everything was done with intent. So the first game we had like 4 CSPM, then we go to 6 point something with the Gragas, but not because of early game farming, mid game farming. He just took all the waves, took all the camps counter jungling, and they shoved and ended. Whereas a Rumble did it in a way that allows you to carry bad laners, defeat enemy junglers and get 2-3 level leads, and gives you staying power throughout the seasons. A lot of junglers and champion mains don't have staying power for their ranks because they are only good at one particular thing. Don't be good at one thing, be good at everything. And if you want to know how to apply everything to your jungling that I've just said in a more macro-based way so that you can actually close out, while also, using it as a comeback mechanism should bad things happen to you, click the video in the box on the top right.